Warzone 2 and DMZ have just dropped, and in this video we're going to go over the best settings to make sure you get the most out of these games. Getting straight into it, I'm a controller player. We're going to fly through this as quickly as possible. So we are playing on controller. You will have controller settings in this video as well. So button layout I have set to default. To be perfectly honest, default or tactical are the best two options. You don't really need to use anything else. Now you can flip the triggers if you want to the bumpers. It will give you a bit less of a delay when you're firing your weapon. Stick layout, default, controller vibration off, standard stuff here. When it comes to horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, 5, 6, 7 and 8 is where you need to be, and make sure they're both matching. That is all you need to know there. Now some people do like playing on higher sensitivities like 2020, but to be honest, the majority of people won't be able to play on those kind of settings. Then when it comes to sensitivity multipliers, I have that set just to the standard at the moment. Vertical aim axis, you just want to leave as standard. You don't really want to change that. Aim down sight behavior is hold. Change zoom shared input is default when it says sprint, tactical sprint. Automatic sprint, I prefer automatic tac sprint, but if you don't want to have a slow sprint to fire, then choose automatic sprint or off. Personally, if I was going to choose one of the other options, automatic sprint would be the option there. Then when it comes to equipment behavior, you want hold. This is the default for previous COD games. Weapon mount activation is ADS and melee. Interact reload behavior is tap to reload. You want to reload quicker than you pick up a weapon, but it depends on the situation sometimes. But personally, I would rather prioritize my reload, so that is why tap to reload is the main option. Armor plate behavior is apply all, and this is across all game modes. Next up, we're moving into the advanced tab. Very important stuff here. So target aim assist is on, aim assist type, black ops or default. We've actually made a whole video doing in-depth testing on which one of these options is the best, and the two best options are default or black ops. So make sure you check out that video, and I'll leave it linked at the end of this one. Gyro behavior, you want to have the set off. This is if you have a gyroscope in your controller. Aim response curve, I like dynamic. Standard is the other good option as well here, but personal preference on that one. ADS multiplier focus is 1. ADS sensitivity transitioning time is instant. You want to make sure you can aim down sight as quick as possible. Custom sensitivity per zoom, very important. With the lower zoom, so anything between a 4 to 5 times optic, which is basically that VLK optic, you want to make sure you put that to the same level, but between 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, round about that range is really good. And then after that, you want to set it to like a 1.1, a 1.2. Then when we're using inputs in dead zone, you want to make sure you do set this. It's very important. You want to make sure it's 0.5, 0.5, leave the max stick, and then the triggers at 0.5 and 0.5 as well. Now if you do have stick drift, you will need to account for that as well. Then auto move forward is off, single tap to sprint because you don't want to double tap all the time on your analog stick. Grounded mantle, automatic airborne mantle, ground mantle, automatic is all off. And then invert slide and dive behavior, that's personal preference, but essentially use tap to slide, or you could swap it so you tap to dolphin dive instead. Now I personally still prefer sliding in this game. Plunging underwater, very important for Warzone. Plunge freely is a setting you need when it comes to actually swimming in this game. It makes it easier to go up and down and left and right when you are in the water, and then to resurface as well. Automatic parachute deploy, you do not want that on. You want that set off, because once you get closer to the ground, you can hit your parachute and land quicker than other opponents. Very similar to previous Warzone, of course. Sprinting door dash I have on. Ledge hang mantle behavior is mantle only. You don't want to have it set to movement based, because it's going to depend on the movement what it does, that if it maybe throws you over the ledge, and sometimes you just want it to be consistent, so I would rather have mantle only. ADS stick swap is off. Backpack alternate control is off. You want to use the D-pad to get through the backpack, in my opinion. Weapon mount movement exit is on, so if you've mounted and you move, it will take you off that, of course. Weapon mount exit delay is short, you don't want any delays. Depleted ammo weapon switch is off. You want to be able to move as quick as possible in this game, especially moving point A to point B, so even if your SMG or pistol has no ammo, you might still want it in your hands. Automatic C4 detonation or quick detonation, again you want this on. Vehicle camera recenter short delay. Initial camera position is free look. Scoreboard behavior is hold. That's just so I personally prefer it like that, so that when you let go of the button, it comes off. Ping wheel delay is off. Danger delay is off as well, especially when you're trying to ping opponents to your teammates. Next up, we've got display settings, and this is mainly for PC players. There'll be a couple of settings in here that will apply to console as well. Full screen borderless or full screen exclusive, both are really solid options. Just make sure your monitor and your graphics card are selected. Dynamic resolution you want off. Aspect ratio, just make sure that is set to what your monitor is. VSync off, VSync menus off. Custom frame rate limit, again, you can set that to just a little bit above what your max frames are for your monitor. Make sure your shaders are up to date and optimized. Very important, otherwise your game will feel like it plays like crap. Gamma I have set to default. Brightness I have set to 65. 60 is also really good as well. Constrain mouse to game window again is off, but that is mainly if you are playing on PC and tabbing out of games. And then focus mode again I have set to off. Now, when it comes to the quality settings, again, I have set to custom. Render resolution is 1440p, but if you play 1080, you can still apply these settings. Upscaling, again, you want to have this turned off. Some people are basically saying the fidelity cast is a good option, but honestly, none of these settings are good. Anti-aliasing, filmic SMA 2x is the best. Anti-aliasing quality I've set to ultra, but normal and high are also good as well. Video memory scale I've set to 80%. Texture resolution, normal. Anisotropic is normal as well. Nearby level of detail is high. Distant level of detail is high. Clutter draw distance is short. Particle quality is low. Particle level is low. Bullet impacts and sprays are on. You need to know where the shots are coming from, or if you need to test your recoil control, this is very important as well. Shader quality I've set to high. Then we've got tessellation off. Terrain memory minimum. On-demand texture streaming, very important, this is turned off by the way. The amount of glitches and bugs that come from just having this setting on is ridiculous. Streaming quality is normal. Is normal or low, the only two options here. Volumetric quality is medium. Deferred physics is low. Water acoustics is off. Shadow map resolution is normal. Screen space shadows, spot shadows, low and then high. Spot cache is low. Particle lighting is low. Ambient inclusion is off. Then we've got screen space reflections I have set to normal. Stacking reflection quality is low. Weather grid volumes is normal. Now, all the settings I just mentioned are mainly to give you the best possible graphics and frames balance, and so that your game does look good in game, but then also you do get a decent amount of frames as well. Now, moving on to the next couple of settings here, this is part of the console settings as well. So reflex low latency I have set to on. Then we've got depth of field off, motion blur off, weapon blur off, film grain off. Then what we want to do is go to view, and in my opinion, FOV needs to be whacked up to 120%. It's very important you do that. And anything between 100 and 120 I think is really good, especially now it'll be available for Warzone. ADS field of view is affected. That means that when you do aim down sights, you still get that wide FOV, and weapon field of view, again, you want it set to wide as well. So when you are aim down sights, you still get that wide FOV, and it makes your weapon look smaller and also gives you the perceived low recoil feel in game. Third person field of view, I have this set fully as well. Vehicle field of view, I just got set to default. Camera shake, you want the least possible, so make sure you turn those both down. And then when it comes to third person ADS transition, I actually like the third person ADS a bit better than the first person, especially in those third person game modes. And then game perspective is where you want your spectator camera to be. You don't want that helmet camera, it's weird. Next up, we've got the audio settings. Very easy one here. Music volume all the way down. Make sure it's all the way down in game. You do not want to hear any music. And then audio mix is either PC if you're playing on PC, or it's TV for console players. That is the best audio mix in this game. We're going to be doing a video testing all of this, by the way. The next couple of settings will definitely help you out 100% in game. Color customization, you definitely want to set. Filter 2 is the best filter, so make sure you do select filter 2, and then you want to have the world intensity to around about 50%. You don't want to whack it all the way up. It makes the game look too saturated and it looks too weird. 50% is a good amount. Interface color, you can have that all the way up and make sure it is set to both, and that way it affects the whole game in its entirety. It makes the game look pretty decent. And then also you want to play around with these settings as well, because enemy colors, you want to make sure it's something that stands out to you, especially if you do have some kind of impairment when it comes to visuals. I like to basically close in the HUD bounds so that basically your minimap is actually closer into the middle of the screen. Very important, personal preference for me. Some people like to have it on the edges, but because I play on a slightly larger monitor, I think it is important to do that. Minimap shape needs to be square. You see way more on this. Rotation needs to be on. Makes it a lot easier for you to know where teammates are, or even call out enemies to teammates. Compass, I think this is sometimes useful depending on the kind of player you are. Some of the pro players do use this setting, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I like to use the ping system when it is working, but sometimes the ping system is not always working, so then I do revert back to using the compass. Crosshairs, I have set to on. Crosshair bobbing, I have set to off, and it makes sure that the crosshairs are center screen and not basically dragging behind constantly. Hit markers you need on, damage hit markers you need on as well to make sure you know you've landed that kill shot. Player names I have set to abbreviated. You can have this turned off as well if you really want to. So there we have it. Those are the best settings for DMZ and Warzone 2. We'll have more content coming later on today. Thank you very much for watching.